Hello, beautiful alchemist. Welcome to Reiki Radio. I am your host, Yolanda, and today we are going into our third hour with Holly Hawkins. And this, I think, is my favorite of all the hours that she spent with us. So today you're going to hear a lot about how to best navigate our paths in terms of how some simple ways of gaining clarity for ourselves about the decisions that we're making, how to have some clarity around what it is that you may be offering if you are a practitioner, if you have a business. But she really gives some great insight again into how to clarify, make choices and decisions that feel resonant with us. There are four questions that she shares that you can ask yourself that really do get to the heart of what it is you want to do, what direction you're going. So, this episode, we do talk a bit about how she learn to trust her path and overcoming insecurities, which again, a lot of us can learn from. And we may encounter on these paths, especially if they look different than what we think our lives look like before. But there's just too much to try to explain right now. So instead, I just hope that you sit back, take a nice deep breath, open up your heart, open up your mind, and enjoy this third conversation with Holly Hawkins. If you want to know more about her and her work, be sure to go to her website, hollyhawkins.love. Follow her on Instagram at holly.hawkins.love, and I will see you on the other side. Okay, everyone, here's our third hour with the incredible Holly Hawkins of hollyhawkins.love. Holly, I just want to start by saying thank you because I love what you shared in the first two episodes. So, again, thank you for coming to share with us and taking the time.
You're welcome. We're having fun, aren't we?
We are having fun. I just can't believe how much people don't know, but in the background, I have taken a lot of her time today. I
We,
really
we've
appreciate
been
it.
sharing a lot between episodes.
Yes. Yes. And what was coming up around this third hour is something you started to mention before we recorded at all. And I thought, like, wow, this is really interesting, great conversation. And I think a lot of people will relate to it. There's quite a bit that you mentioned that I want to ask you about. But a big part of it is, again, this golden thread of your work really highlights purpose a lot for people.
Mm.
And I want to say even like reclaiming and owning like some level of confidence that comes through with your work. But in that, a lot of us, not just in this realm, just a human being, we question, am I going the right way? Am I doing the right thing? What we doubt so much.
True.
But watching you over the years, you really have left room for guidance. You're very regular in connecting with yourself and your team. You have evolved a lot in how you work and what you do, even though it's always stayed in the same vein, it keeps blossoming. So I wanted to ask you about that for people who are curious about the whole purpose thing.
Yeah.
How are you navigating this?
It's a really great question. I've never wobbled. Wait, let me just say this the right way. I personally don't think about my purpose.
Mm.
Or if I do, if I'm getting like a little insecure moment, like, ooh, should I be doing something else? I navigate it honestly, and I work with my clients this way too. I find this actually a great shortcut for anyone who's feeling insecure about anything is imagine it not being there.
Mm.
Like if I say, geez, should I do this work? Or I always make a joke that like, because we all have free will. So we're
Yeah.
not bound to anything other than where we are choosing to be. But, I could say, okay, maybe tomorrow I'm going to become a cross country truck driver, which is funny. I mean, but it's not like I could. I
Yeah.
have free will. I could if I wanted to. Is it likely? No. Um, but then I just imagine, well, okay, I don't even have to know what else I would do. I would just say, okay, just take a minute and imagine you're not doing this. You're not going to be teaching these things. You're not going to be holding the classes. You're not going to be offering the workshops and the courses. You're not going to be meeting with clients. How's that feel?
Mm.
And that's usually like the shortcut of how I tap into purpose. I don't worry about purpose like it has to have a strong definition. It's like, am I in the right place and clear that I'm in the right place doing the right thing with the right
Right.
people?
Yeah.
And that is purpose then. But it doesn't have to have a definition for me personally.
Yeah.
But I also haven't been worried about purpose personally.
Mhm.
Um, I told the story about like there I was as a newly single mom, divorced and new public school teacher by a couple years. No, I guess that was in my 6th year of teaching. I hadn't been doing it for very long. Wasn't planning on changing. The security of it was great. The summer vacations off were great with my kids, all the things.
Yeah.
I wasn't curious about anything else. And so I wasn't exploring
Yeah.
purpose. And something new came in and I followed it. So I do that a lot where I just feel something and open up to, is there something else there for me to do? And so it doesn't have a lot of form and structure that I can decide, except what I can say to everyone. If you're undecided about anything, imagine what you currently have going away. How
Yeah.
do you feel?
And that's a really interesting thing because I love how that it seems like it cuts through a lot,
Mhm.
especially if someone is caught in the story of why they can't be seen and heard and all of these things. And if you took that option away and totally off the table, it's also coming to mind how interesting it is we often want what we can't have
Mhm.
for some people. So even having that different way of looking at it, I wonder what kind of shift that brings in for people. But
Yeah, I
it
mean,
also, oh,
for
go ahead.
example, working with somebody like in the Akashic records and they're wondering about their relationship. Is it time to end the relationship or move to divorce or something?
Hmm.
And I mean, obviously, it comes through their soul guidance team, not by me. I mean, I'm
Right.
the voice of it, but it can be an iteration of, well, the best way to find out if it's time to stay or go is number one, just intuitively ask yourself, is it
Yeah.
time to go? And don't think about it, just what's there.
Yeah.
And that's number one, because usually we already know. And we can be completely dissatisfied with something and still know that it's not time to go.
Right.
It's okay. Because part of what it is we spend a lot of energy in, ooh, should I stay? Should I go? Is it the right thing? Is it not the right thing? And we spend a lot of energy on the seesaw. Up and down. Is it right? Is it wrong? Is it right? Is it wrong? Well, what if you just intuitively figured out or just said, is it time to go? And it's like, no, it's not. Okay, so what it means is that energy that we spend waffling back and forth, we're free of that now. We can just say, okay, I might be unhappy and dissatisfied, but I know it's not the right time to go. So now the resource, the energy that we would use on the back and forth, now that's freed up as a resource to figure out how we want to be in that place, whether it's a job, whether it's a relationship, whatever it is.
Ugh. You bring up the so many of us suffer with like what I'm supposed to do and the stories around that. And not just even just the supposed to do, but even the potential of what will other people think and what will other people say, and just how we end up shaping and navigating so much based on all of these stories, but none of them are necessarily true. So I love
Right.
that again, like you just saying, if you ask intuitively, and even that, Holly, I think, I wonder if you realize how big this is, what you said. But to recognize, even if we're uncomfortable or dissatisfied, it doesn't automatically mean that it's time to go yet. And I think that's such a big one because I think a lot of people struggle with that, whether
Yeah.
relationship or career, and other people's judgment of them when it may seem obvious to everyone else, like, well, then why don't you just go?
Right.
But they have this knowing of not yet, whatever the
Not the
reasoning.
right time yet. Right.
Yeah.
And then it could, even if it's not something that we're loving, we can be more at peace with where we are. And then what it also means is tomorrow I can check in, or next week, or next month, or 6 months, or next year, and I can say, am I in the right place? Should I stay or should I go? In whatever it's,
Yeah.
I use the relationship example. It can apply to a lot of different things.
Yeah.
And as soon as we know and have confidence in our ability to tune in and get the right information at the right time, we reduce a lot of, I'll say, nervous energy that we spend wondering and being worried and am I missing the sign, or what else is possible? If we know that no, it's right now, or you tune in and you say, yeah, it's time. Now you know that you can trust that, okay, now's the time to put into action. Again, I'm not in this back and forth anymore. And then our energy gets liberated to be in right action for what's
Mhm.
aligned with us right now.
Yeah. Well, there's two things. So, one, I want to ask you about the appreciating where we're at, because even before you just said that, it sounded like that's something that you may have familiarity with, like how to appreciate where I am, whether I understand it or not, whether it's what the end goal is or not. Just I can
Yeah.
appreciate where I am for what it is at this time. But I also, again, have known you for many years. So, especially when it comes, well, not just business, your life overall, different areas of your life have gone through reconstruction, have evolved in this time period. But let's
Massive.
say, especially with business, I met you and you had a in-person studio, and then that evolved into you started doing a lot of stuff online. And this was before the pandemic. This was just,
Yeah.
you just took a pivot, and then things evolve. Like it keeps evolving. You started teaching in Japan. You've done a lot, right? And most people would, I think, have frozen in any stage that you were in, trying to cling to, afraid of things changing. Like say you got to a spot where it was like, oh, things are clicking and it's moving and money's coming in and clients are great, students are great. A lot of people get afraid of those things slipping through their hands and afraid to change. What is it about you, or what have you learned in this process of allow movement, allow change? It doesn't mean something's going to be terrible.
I'm personally somebody who likes change.
Yeah.
Um, and you with your astrology background, um, like I don't know that it fits my astrology very well. Well, it probably does somewhere.
Mhm.
But like I don't want to see the same bedspread on my bed 2 years from now, or 5 years from now, or 10. Like I'm
Yeah.
just somebody who likes to change things up.
Mhm.
But I'm also Taurus moon. I like I'll change things up in my house, but don't ask me to move from my house, right?
Gotcha. Yes.
Right. So I like change. I like things being new and dynamic. And so I think my energy field is open to that,
Yeah.
to open to what's new. And, for example, and you and I talked about this in the last couple of days and before we got online today, is, both of us have been studying something new that we didn't even know that it's basically the same thing.
Yeah.
But that for about 6 months, I felt like I think there's something new.
Yeah.
I didn't explore, oh, what's it going to be? I need the detail on it. I just let it bubble up. I just let it bubble up. And in the last few years, I've been through enormous life change on every level and living on the opposite side of the country that I lived my whole life before the last few years.
Yeah.
And there's been a lot of healing, tons of healing, and everything in my life is different. Um, And in that space, I try to drop into this abiding trust in myself that even if it's uncertain or if I'm not clear, like there is a through line of me. And like, can I allow myself to be comfortable in the unknown and be willing to step into an unknown, even if nobody's giving me any assurances of anything.
Yes.
When I moved everything across the country, nobody gave me any assurance that that was a good move,
Right.
but it has been a great move. And so it's like that deeper trust in myself. And I really live in the space of choice and free will. Like, if I don't like it, I can choose something different. Now, I don't change that easily. Also, in some regards, like my Taurus moon, like just leave me in this house, but I'll change things up in the house.
Yes. Yeah, no.
But at the same time, we're dynamic beings and we're waking up. We live in a universe that's ever evolving, ever expanding, ever growing, ever changing. So that's kind of, we're universal beings.
Yeah.
So I don't even know. That may be a real tangent to your question, but that was.
No, it's good. And it actually leads into this other thing I want to ask you. A lot of people also struggle with. You mentioned, you know, we're, we go through shifts all the time. But
Mm,
there is this thing where a lot of people, especially when we start coming into these different energetic relationships with ourselves, we often can feel a shift. We can either feel it coming or we feel like while we're in the thick of it, but we can feel like something's changing or on the verge of. For a lot of people, this is maddening, especially when it's like something's going to move, but it hasn't quite happened yet. And we know that something's changing, but it's not happened in the outer world yet, right?
yeah.
Oh, do you have any suggestions for people who go through this, like where they are in that space of like, "Ugh, something's happening, but I don't know what? How do you relax into that?"
Um, I can tell you what I do.
Yeah.
It's actually something I teach a mini course on also, but I'll kind of give the Cliff Notes version of this here. It's actually something I love to do. Is Yeah, I think a lot of times if we want to dive into it, that unsettled feeling is we're worried. Like that's the unknown. I don't know what am I going to like. What's changing? Like I have no idea. Nobody's giving me the data of what it's going to look like on the other side.
Yes.
But so when we go back to the idea of self-abandonment, we don't want to abandon ourselves. So number one is I do this a lot. People have probably already seen me do it. Like this is comforting. This is
Yeah.
comforting. This is my heart. Like, so I will acknowledge to myself that all the feelings I'm feeling are right, true, and appropriate.
Mm.
Like, Holly, you know what? It makes sense. You're feeling uncomfortable. Yeah, this is an uncomfortable time. Of course you feel uncomfortable. I let myself be with what's true with me. Now, some of us have a hesitation to do that because if we acknowledge it and we allow it and we say it's okay and it makes sense, of course you feel that way. We think we're going to get stuck there.
Ah.
But we're basically hearing ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And then what I do is there are a few steps to this, but I eventually get to the place where I say to myself, I'm here with you. You're not alone. We're doing this together.
Yeah.
I'm uncertain too, but here we are. We're in this together. I love you. And then I move into, Holly, what do you need right now? What do you need? And I'm opening up. I consider it deep listening is how I think of it to myself.
Yeah.
I'm willing to open up like, what do I need right now? Because so often we're striving for that outer thing that, okay, when it's clear, then I can feel settled. But I want to feel settled right here and now, even if it's settled can't be around me. So by me saying, what do I need right now? And listening to myself, I can hear. It could be, can you just take a walk around the block? I need to move the body. Or can you drink some more water? Or, you need to rest and relax, stop working so hard. Or I can hear something, and it's 99% of the time, completely actionable.
Right.
And for me, it just, and when I've taught my little mini course on this, it allows us to be in touch with ourselves. It allows us to stay connected and hearing what we need. Because if our needs are met right now, even by ourselves, we are calm. And when we're calm, we have more ability to perceive
Right.
what's available,
Yeah.
what's coming. I mean, that's our intuition, right?
Yes. No, but it again, a big, big thing that you're saying here, because a lot of times we look for the externalized validation, or we look for the externalized soothing, like something to, feed us, do it for us, for God knows how many reasons why, and all the stories that could be attached to that. But you saying this just really highlights how powerful it is to acknowledge ourselves. And I don't think a lot of us even recognize how much we don't. I
Yeah.
don't think we realize how much we literally ignore ourselves, as simple as, like, to your point, you could be thirsty. Listen, I do this a lot. I could be thirsty and my body is screaming, like, go get water. And I'm like, let me finish something. Like, I will override what my body is asking me. I might override what, soul level something is asking or telling me to do. And I don't think we really consider how much we ignore ourselves, let alone the people around us.
Right.
Wow.
And when we want people around us to listen to us or pay attention or um, the question is, how much am I willing to listen to myself?
Right.
And that's not in a blame like, oh, people aren't listening to you because you're not listening to yourself. That's not what I'm
Right.
saying. It's just more like, are we in that vortex of being curious and supporting ourselves? Then we have that vibrational field. Then we naturally have people in our lives that vibrate on that same level.
So I want to talk to you about this too, then, because this the whole idea is coming up of, like, frequency around change, and how we're constantly shifting, changing, and we may have to reacclimate to the external and the internal shifts. But it's coming to mind again, you in your path. Not only has your business gone through many iterations, but let's say even in more recent years, like, you went from having a business partner to now being a solopreneur. And again, that's a very different kind of frequency.
Hmm.
So aside from just, like, mentally telling yourself sometimes, stay open, let's see how things unfold, how do you navigate this? Like, these are big energy shifts, Holly. Like, you I just want to point out, because it kind of sounds like, oh, it's
No,
lightweight, but no, you've done some heavy lifting.
truth is, it's been gut wrenching.
Yes.
Truth
Yeah.
is, it's been hard.
Yeah.
Truth is, I was confused. Truth is, I didn't know if I would make it. I don't
Mm.
mean in terms of my life. Like
Right.
I just, but and I don't want to oversimplify it because a lot of this stuff that I'm actually overtly explaining based on your questions,
Yeah.
I'm having to dig into like, what did I do? And a lot of it is me tapping into myself. And is it time to do something different? I'm going to make something up that never even occurred to me. Like, should I go renew my teaching credential?
Right.
I mean, that wasn't ever a serious consideration, but like, you go through these things and these big changes. And again, I open up to this place foundationally that we have choice. And Ishtara, one of this beautiful being that we talked about earlier, she's guided me so much around this. Like I've really anchored the energy of choice because of her teachings. And we hear about choice. It's not like she's saying something groundbreaking, but she's talked about it enough. Choice and worthiness and several other things that have been like really hallmark teachings of hers that I always have a choice. And so what am I choosing? I'm choosing to stay the course even if I'm confused. I'm choosing to stay the course even when it's hard. I'm choosing to stay the course because I know that there's nothing else that's calling me forward in the same way. But I'd be lying to you if I'm not one to do that. So
Right.
it's like we all have gone through hard times.
Yeah.
And like I have a lot of faith in myself that I'll get through it even if I don't know what's happening.
Right.
I have faith that we can thrive and we can connect with feeling good about ourselves in life no matter where we are.
Yeah.
And I feel like every day I get to choose what my experience is of life. And through this last 3 years that have been quite challenging, I know that I love my work. I know I love the people I work with, whether they come as students, whether they come one time for a workshop, or whether they're regular clients who I see many times a year. I love all of it. I love seeing who's curious about their next possibility. And like, because I'm at an age where a lot of people would be retiring, I have zero interest in it. Like, I feel like this is so good. Like, why would anyone want to leave this? So those are like the undercurrents that I have that like keep me going.
Yes. Oh, I love
But
that.
there have been tears. There
Yes.
have been nights not sleeping. I'm not going to lie about that. But there's been, a different abiding energy that has kept me resilient through it.
I'm so glad you shared. One, I love that question. What am I choosing? It sounds like such a simple question, but that's a huge question. And it brings us back into that recognition that we have choice, which we hear all the time, but a lot of times we're not considering what we're choosing. But I'm glad that you share that because again, I think a lot of times we paint these perfect pictures of like if I'm in my practice, if I'm doing the work, then my life should be smooth sailing. There should
Mm.
be nothing wrong. If I'm meditating and I'm doing this work and I'm being kind, I shouldn't be suffering in any kind of way. And I mean, we know that's not true, but a lot of times people don't know it's not true because they haven't heard anyone say it. That you can go through these transitions and they're tough, and at the same time, recognize the tools and what you have access to and what you're capable of. And it's a dance, but it's all helping us grow.
Yes, absolutely. No, I agree. And I won't say that this is easy, what I'm about to say, but
Yeah.
one of the themes that I've adopted for myself over the last few years is asking myself, how do I want to go through this experience?
Mm.
So when something's tough, it's easy to be reactionary, right?
Yep.
And be upset. Maybe feel victimized. Like it's okay to feel all those things. It's okay. But then when I have a minute, when things are tough, I say, how do I want to be? How do I want to choose to be? How do I want to navigate so that and those questions are all activating the energy of choice. And choice is an expansive field. I I live a lot in the idea that we're in this field of awakening, and I know I've already said it in the course of these 3 interviews, is we live in this expanding awakening field. Okay. So we are universal beings, and whether or not we're aligned with the idea of the awakening, we're all part of it. We've all chosen to be here on the planet during this time. So replicating the energy of the universe is helpful because we're in alignment with this universal expansion.
Mhm.
And so, what is that? Again, that's an expansive energy, not contracting. So, contracting is, I've already said it before, judgmental, critical, all of that. We can feel it. And it just makes us turn in on ourselves. So, the idea of choice means there's more available. Like if I said to you, Yolanda, you and I are going to dinner tonight. We're going to go out and have spaghetti. We're going to have Italian. I didn't give you a choice, did I? There's no movement there. That's just what we're doing. But
Right.
if I said, Yolanda, you and I are going out to dinner, where would you like to go? We've got a lot more available to us, right? So I try to bring myself into this energy of choice as often as I can. And for me, it often comes down to how do I want to choose to go through whatever the experience is? Do I want to be angry? Do I want to be gnarly? Do I want to be mean to myself? Or do I want to feel optimistic or hopeful, even if I'm not sure what the outcome is? Do I want to feel resilient? Do I want to feel forgiving? Do I even want to feel neutral?
Mm.
Neutral's a great place to be because people think neutral's often uncaring and unkind. But neutral, if you're angry and upset and distraught about anything or anyone, it's kind of like the little Tasmanian devil, right? In the old cartoon. It's very activated energy. But even a moving to neutral is amazing. So how do I want to be? Gives us this more expansive place to be, to allow us to see the horizon better and to feel like we have more opportunity to move in the same space that we're in. And those are kind of foundational things that I've gone through all this change with. How do I want to be?
Let me tell you what I'm thinking listening to you. Like, one, this is why I love you so much. And I always tell people one of the ways I, in my mind, determine if someone's like my friend or my person is if I want to have coffee with them. And listening to you right now,
But
I'm
we've
like,
done that a
oh,
lot.
we've done it a lot. And I'm like, wow, I'm so thankful right now that people are getting that. I feel like they're getting to have coffee with you in the ways that I've got
Oh,
to over these years. And it's just absolutely incredible. See, the 3 hours, I'm telling you. But I have to ask you this too, because a lot of practitioners wonder about this, and I know you have a way of working with it, is what to offer. So a lot of people, we have various interests, and once you crack the door open in this work, you may end up taking 500 classes. And initially, you might think you have to offer everything.
mhm.
And then you may find you don't want to, but you think you're supposed to. So, how do you navigate that in terms of recognizing what's just for you versus how you want to work with people?
Mm, great question. Nobody's ever asked me that question before. Well, I know for myself, I have a large spiritual toolbox also.
Right.
Um, if somebody went to my website, they see some things. They see channeling, they see universal sphere, they see the Akashic records, but there are a whole lot of other things that they don't see.
Right.
And those are my personal practice things. Could I bring them out into the world? Sure. Have they been in smaller groups that I've had? Like when I had a spiritual business group going for a year, we did a lot of those other things. But I'm going to just talk about the business part. Like, what do I put forward? I would say number one, I believe in making things easy. What is the thing that lights you up the most? And that number two, because you're going to bring your joy to that,
Right.
right? It's easy for me to do. I absolutely love this thing. And I know that people will be transformed by it in whatever way your work is there for. Whether you're helping people with websites or whether you're helping people in a spiritual practice or whatever it is, it doesn't matter. But what is that thing that's easy for you to offer because you have so much joy for it?
Mhm.
Do that first. And there's a really good reason for it also, because if you're in business, you want to make money.
Right.
Because, people don't like talking about money, but listen, that's part of life.
Yeah.
So make money and do it as easily as you can. And so that's what I would say. And then also, if you observe that there's like we're in a cycle of things in life, or your clients are in a cycle of things, because you definitely, like for me, I definitely see seasons. Like clients seem to come, like we've been in a season for the last 6 or 9 months with a lot of soul purpose questions.
Yeah.
Those have been constant, but it's like somebody's lit a soul purpose flame under a lot of people. A lot of people are curious about that right now.
Yeah.
Even earlier today, I had a client session and that was one of their questions. It's up for people. So if you know things are up for people and you have particular tools that are really good at helping them with that, do those things. Make it easy and not hard.
Yeah. I love you're so practical. You really are. I think that's what I love about your work too, because you demystify a lot and you are very practical, but then you are very, again, like I think some of the most incredible experiences I've had over the years have been with you.
Oh,
I mean, I could go through the laundry list, but it's really, really true. Like it's they say sometimes people having like a foot in both realms. That's what you seem like. You really do, because there is this part of you that some people would say like, wow, she's really out there. That's some strange stuff. I don't know if this lady is talking. But then at the very same time, there's this part of you that is so practical and grounded and yeah, like you're this interesting blend of both. And with that, this other thing is coming to mind to ask you that I didn't plan to, but because of the times that we're in, a lot of people have some confusion around what it means to be in these practices, to want to work in the frequency of love that you spoke about in the last episode, and wanting to be in our kindness and all of these things. Now, obviously, there's a lot going on in the world that triggers the hell out of everyone.
mhm.
Of course it does. But a lot of people have a hard time navigating, like, again, the stories of if I'm getting angry, if I'm getting triggered, if I'm having a hard time, does it mean I'm not equipped for this work?
Well,
And
I
yeah,
get angry and triggered and afraid also
yes,
because we're having our human experience.
right.
See, I think I call it a distortion.
Yeah,
Some people might call it perpetration, but it's like a distortion of like, if you move into this, if you're curious and opening up to spirituality, metaphysics, transformational work, however you want to describe it,
yeah,
that there's this pinnacle of spirituality of that's like spiritual perfection that you have to be. But we're still having it, and this is why some gurus get into trouble
right.
and the people who follow them, they expect them to be something. Listen, we're all having a human experience and we're all having it on this planet and we're all having it in 3D, which, oh right, is polarity.
Right.
Polarity will always exist. The problem isn't the polarity, it's how we react to the polarity. Oh my God, it's not perfect. Something's wrong with me. That's a perpetration. That's a distortion. It's a distortion. And we could point the fingers at why it's there. We're not going to do it right now. But this idea that if I'm not perfect, there's something wrong with me, we need to throw that out because in every difficult moment you've had, and I'm going to invite everyone who's listening, think of your top two, three, maybe just one thing that was really difficult for you. I'm giving everyone a minute to think about that, come up with it. If it's not top of mind, good for you. That means you're probably not deep in it right now, which is amazing. But if you go back and do a little survey of your life, you had difficult times, and in those difficult times, you became something through them. You found new resource, whether it was from you, from an external source, you grew, you changed. And what catalyzed that could have been something extremely difficult from a human perspective. But the goal is who did you become? Who did you become? What energy did you have to activate? And leaning into that more, and then be curious who am I becoming through this challenging moment? Who are we all becoming right now in challenging moments?
Right.
And what's the energy we want to choose to bring forward? I want to just share a quick personal Akashic record story. Not long ago, I don't even know what motivated me to ask this, but I went into my Akashic records and I asked, show me who I became through difficult experiences in my life. That probably wasn't the exact question, but close enough. And I just was remembering highlights, you know? I wasn't remembering small things about like a kid thing in elementary school, but the bigger events in my life. And I was looking at it through the lens of not like what happened, but like when I went through that, what did I become? What did I have to activate?
Mhm.
What did I have to bring forward that I hadn't before? And I went through maybe 5 or 6 bigger events in my life, and I saw a theme that I had never seen before. And I never put it together. I was so touched by this. And you'd think for all this work in my records, I wouldn't be brought to tears. But time after time, the theme was that took courage. You needed courage to make that move, to make that change. To do that thing, it took courage. And I had no idea if you said to me, "Are you a courageous person?" I would say, I don't know. I don't relate to that. But I'll tell you something. That was the theme, and it still gives me chills today, that's who I've become through the challenges of my life. So I have a choice right now, as we all do. Here's that choice word again. I guess it's the theme is I can focus on the shit that
Yep.
happened. And I can be stuck in that. And listen, I have plenty to wallow in, as we all do. I can focus on that, or I can say, wait, sitting in that same space with that is the fact that I did some really kick-ass stuff. I was pretty amazing. Like I didn't know it in the moment, but I can look back on it and say, wow. And when we get that perspective of the victoriousness of our life, that's why polarity is good. You guys might have thought I forgot about my polarity discussion. I didn't. Getting back to when we start reframing polarity as like, I'm good or bad, and throw that out and say, let's decide this dimension is in favor of us. Our
Mhm.
soul brought us here for yummy, good stuff, not out of punishment, not out of penance, not because you didn't get all your lessons learned, but how am I growing, changing, and becoming more of who I'd like to be and focus on that? And the more we focus on it, the more it grows.
Yes. Let me tell you something. This is what you cannot make this up. You and I sometimes it happens a lot over these years where one of us will share with the other something that's been coming up for us or something we're discussing. We're like, oh my God, I've been thinking about that. Literally, this conversation you're saying, it came up in the Reiki retreat last
Oh,
week.
did it?
It did.
Nice.
But then also after the retreat, just yesterday in the alchemy circle, I was telling them I was looking, something caused me to yesterday reflect on the phases of what people call the dark night of the soul. But
Hmm.
to me, it was like hindsight. I'm like, these were illuminations of my soul, right?
Wow.
And so I looked back at what was the obvious first. That was like my kind of my entry into this realm. And I started to see the the phases that I've gone through, and you knowing me knows, right? So I thought of, the first iteration, like say what I was still in Hillcrest. There was another iteration in the desert. There was another iteration going back east during, the pandemic, another iteration now here in San Diego, right? And so I'm looking at all of these phases and what was really challenging about them, but what I really appreciate about what they helped me recognize about myself, but also there was a theme. There was this consistent theme, and I was just kind of in awe about it. Like, wow. So it came up this whole idea, which I keep saying your work points to, this idea of purpose, and
Hmm.
why I was thinking about how much we're living it out, these iterations of our purposeful expression that we don't recognize because we think it's this one thing rather than seeing how we're constantly being rubbed into it and through it.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, rubbed into it and through it is
Yeah.
absolutely true. Right.
Yeah. But so the fact that you just said all that you just said, I'm like, only Holly, this could only we do this all the time. But
We do. And and these are themes of our human existence, but
yeah,
these are foundational things that, again, we have beliefs and we've decided that they're true,
yeah,
but in this time of our awakening, they're getting shaken up. Like, no, they're only true because over millennia we've all believed them, but it
yeah,
doesn't mean foundationally they were actually true to begin with.
right,
And so we get to reframe some of these, because just imagine if we went through our life and in a challenging time, we kind of got excited about what we were going to break through to.
yeah,
Like, wow, I can't wait to see who I'm on the other side of this.
right,
And it would really reframe this idea that this is a terrible place to be and polarity is so hard, and it means that difficult moments don't mean we failed in any way.
right. But I love, again, let me tell you something, lady, you are teaching us through these episodes. Yes. But excited about the breakthrough. Even you saying that, again, some of these things sound so simple, but they're huge. The idea that we could, instead of just accepting, like, oh, the unknown is so scary, and just allowing ourselves to be in that choice of, I'm afraid of the unknown. What does this breakthrough mean? I'm going to lose control. I'm not. And then there goes the story. And we expand all of this like chaos and freak ourselves out. But just that simplicity of choosing, or to see from that other lens that you just said, what if I could be excited about this breakthrough? It's weird. Even these ideas, like they feel different in our body if you say them out loud.
They do.
Hmm.
They do. And it doesn't mean that we can't, it's okay for us to feel angsty,
Yeah.
and feel upset and feel uncertain. And like, we don't need to eliminate those because, I view it that our entire emotional spectrum is good.
Yes.
It's all data
Yep.
and it's all information. And like everything, it's not what it is, it's what are we going to do with it?
Right.
I mean, that to me is core. Like, what are we going to do with it? And what are we going to do with the feeling of uncomfortable? I'm going to just be with it and allow myself to be uncomfortable. And what do you need, Holly?
You
Go
bring
to bed,
you bring
just
up
go to
this
bed.
other thing. I don't know that we've ever talked about this before, you and I, like even off the scenes. But you bring to mind how a lot of people try to, or not try to, but they literally do like damn their ego, or like there's this dirty, shadowy part of you that you're supposed to just, like, I don't know, throw out the window. I don't know, but just escape it, avoid it, deny it, repress it, something. And a lot of what you're saying is pointing to that aspect of, just like you're saying, not staying in the polarity, but in that neutral space. How do you appreciate and love all of these iterations of you
Mhm,
and what
mhm,
you've gone through and what they've taught you and these
mhm.
kinds of things? And it's interesting, Holly Hawkins love, that really everything you say, it keeps pointing back to, how do you love yourself? But really, really unconditionally, not picking and choosing, but how do we really have more of the self acceptance and self awareness, and not putting it just in these pots of good and bad? That's what it sounds like you've been pointing to through these
Yeah,
conversations.
I think the whole thing with self-love, it's like it's a big thing. And I think we're all, many, many, many of us, that's a soul lesson right now. Again, through my practice, I've seen that come up so many times. It's a bigger season, maybe the last 2 or 3 years that self-love comes up a lot. But self-love is squirrely.
Hmm.
None of us know how to do it. I mean, really, we don't. Like, I don't know how to love myself. And to me, loving ourselves means the way in the door, if you will, to loving ourselves, because we don't know how to do it by and large. We can do some actions that might bring it there, but it's having positive regard for yourself.
Yeah.
Like, you know what? You did a great job today. Doesn't matter that your to-do list still has items on it. You did the best you could. Yeah. Looking back. Yeah, you do it differently. But this idea of having kind regard for yourself, like, so we're not in this cycle of judgment.
Mhm.
Kind regard goes a long way to softening our experience of ourselves,
Yeah.
or at least it has for me. And again, kind regard isn't, I view it as an expression of self-love, and it can get us closer to it and open it up more easily for us. But kind regard isn't the only endpoint of love, but it's how we start moving in that direction. And again, giving ourselves the benefit of the doubt, giving ourselves a sense of kindness.
Yeah.
And because often the judgment that we feel against ourselves is all hindsight.
Right.
Like, oh, that didn't work out the way I want. Oh, you never do it right. Or, whatever it is. It's like, but in the moment you made the decision, you were doing the best you could.
Yes. Yeah. Well, this is a great segue into this last piece. Can you believe this last hour kind of flew by? I only have like
Really fast.
really fast. But you often talk about, also acknowledging what's not yours. Like this isn't mine. And so I wanted to ask you about that too before we wrap up and how that has been so supportive of you in
Hmm.
this work and this human experience.
Well, okay. So yeah, I love this. I love this topic of what's mine and what's not mine. Light workers, people who are probably most of your audience here, man, you've got big heart. You love big, and you're a giver. I would guess your entire audience would identify as being a giver.
Mhm.
That's what light workers are. We're here to help, right? And we tend to be sensitive, we tend to be empathic, and we tend to want to take things on consciously and unconsciously. We sponge in energies. And very often, everything that's in our energy field, what we think, feel, experience, we've decided is all ours to deal with because we think we have these Herculean shoulders because we're so giving and we want to take away so much suffering from other people.
Right.
The problem is it can get overwhelming, in my opinion. And then we're starting to process, even in our own healing journey, we're trying to process things, and especially the things that we get stuck in. Sometimes we're processing energy that's not even ours.
Yeah.
We've brought it in, we're so familiar with it. It's like a squatter coming into your house and they've been sitting in your living room chair for so long, you think they belong there. And the reality is, it's not necessarily yours to deal with. Years and years ago, I was at this very small class with a woman who had a shamanic training background. And she said, I don't even remember what the class was really about. She said, one thing that has never left me. And she said, I always ask myself, is this mine to do? And it was one of those things that, again, has never left me.
Right.
So when things are struggling, when things are sticky, is what I call it, sticky energy, asking ourselves, is this mine to do? Are we trying to process something that isn't even energetically ours to do? And that could be whether it's with somebody you're in direct contact with. It could also be energetically, like I said a moment ago, you might be trying to heal or clear out an energetic pattern. Before you start working with it again, ask the question, is this mine or is it not mine? It's a great question. And if it's not yours, however you want to do it, again, I teach people how to do this, but however you want to do it, get it out of your energetic field.
Yeah.
Move it out, visualize it, get it out. The universe knows what to do with it. You don't need to worry about what the universe does with it when you get it out of your field. But it helps us not process the things that aren't ours. And it also helps us not process, or it helps us only process the things that are ours to deal with. Sometimes I love to ask the question, what percent is this yours?
Mm, yeah.
Because it might be like, oh, you know what? 20% is mine. Okay, that means 80% isn't yours. Let's let go of that. And it's as easy as that. Just let go of it. The 80%, and we don't need to know whose is it? Why is it there? How long has it been there? Did somebody intentionally give it to me? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I mean,
Yeah.
our mind wants the data, right?
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
But it doesn't matter. If it's not yours, let it go. It's not yours, let it go. And I find that extremely powerful so that when you're doing your work on anything, you're doing it on your work and let the other people deal with their stuff.
Yes.
And you don't even have to know, again, who you're carrying it for or why or how long. It's irrelevant. But it also comes into play um, very often in close relationships. I'm not, somebody's going to have to need to hear this because I wasn't planning on saying this, but sometimes with our close relationships with people, I didn't mean to
That's
raise my
okay.
hand. I'm sorry.
No, it happens.
I taught, you think I'm Italian with how much I use my hands when I speak. Um, the in our close relationships, sometimes we are out of our unconscious or subconscious love, care, and compassion, holding things for people, expecting them to change.
Mm,
Hoping that if we hold this thing for them, whatever it is, it's often a lot emotionally, that they're going to become who you'd like them to be. But
right.
what we're doing is we've taken what they need to learn from and we're holding it and we're saying, why aren't you learning your lesson? It's like, but we're holding on to it for them out of our love, care, and compassion, but they don't have access to exactly what they need to go through their learning process because it's not yours. It's not yours to do. It's theirs to do. And we can't save people from their lessons.
Yeah.
We can't save people from their growth curve, however that looks.
Right.
We can't love people into changing the way that's going to make us feel comfortable. It's their job.
Yeah. Wow.
So I don't know if
See,
that answers your
are
question.
you kidding? First of all, I'm so excited to share these episodes. You don't even know right now. I'm like, ooh, this is so good. You really have shared so much. I have like a recap of the questions that came just from this last hour from you. But what you just said, it's wild that this is how we have to end because that could have been a whole conversation in of itself. So whoever was meant to hear that, I hope that it serves them. But I have to say, Holly, I mean, you really gave us so much food for thought. And I'm so thankful that everyone is going to get to see all of the, I think, is very clear what your work is about, what it is that you do, and the kind of space that you hold. But a couple of the questions you shared with us that are so powerful is what am I choosing? It's a great question to ask ourselves. Also, how do I want to go through this experience? It's good stuff. And is this mine to do, or what percentage is mine? Just those four questions alone. You could have just come 5 minutes, given us those questions, and left. So this was so good. I cannot thank you enough for everything you shared in these last really 5 hours with me, but 3 hours on the podcast.
Well, as always, it's a real pleasure to share space with you because we have
Yes.
such a great synergy together. And it's a joy, it's like this is what I'm here for.
Yes. No, 100%. And it's obvious. It's obvious and you can feel it. And that's another thing about you. I just want to say, I've mentioned in the past how one of the things I is really big for me is people's authenticity. Again, even the people that I've taken a lot of classes and I've learned a lot of things, but there are very few people that I will say they were my teacher. You may have taught me something, but I'm not necessarily claiming you as a teacher. And you are one of the people that I say so lovingly, like what a wonderful teacher you are and have been. Um,
Thank
but
you. I
there's
receive
just
that. Thank you.
this beautiful authenticity with you and your work that I appreciate deeply. I love who you are. And for everyone, you can learn more about Holly and her work at hollyhawkins.love. Her Instagram is at holly.hawkins.love. And she said it. She's going to have some classes coming
Yeah,
soon. I recommend
definitely.
that you go to her classes, but working with her on one on one is incredible too. So all of that is on the website.
Yeah, and the classes aren't up on the website yet, but they will be in the next coming months now that I'm able to focus a little bit more on that.
Yeah.
And so they'll be popping up, and you can always sign up on the website to join the mailing list, and then you'll get notified when they're going to be happening.
Yes. That's another good one. Thank you for reminding everyone of that. Sign up for the newsletters. That's where you always know what's coming up. You don't have to ever feel like you missed out on something. And we don't always catch everything on social media because of the algorithms and blah blah blah, but you'll know if you sign up for the newsletter. So, thank you so much, my love.
Thank you, my dear. Love you so much.
I love you too. And all of you, we will see you soon. Bye for now. Okay, beautiful alchemist. First of all, I have to say thank you, thank you, thank you to Holly for sitting down with us for 3 hours here on Reiki Radio, sharing some beautiful wisdom and insights. This third hour, as I mentioned, was really my favorite. I loved the tips that she gave. I loved her vulnerability and honesty with us. It was just an incredible conversation. And I loved all three conversations we had. So if you would like to learn more about Holly and her work, be sure to go to her website, hollyhawkins.love. While you're there, sign up for the newsletter, especially if you're interested in upcoming classes. You can also follow her on Instagram at holly.hawkins.love and see what insights she posts there. If you want to learn more about me and my work, go to theenergeticalchemist.com, sign up for the newsletter as well. I have a new class that is starting in April, and I believe there's another class that's starting in May. So, quite a bit coming up. And you can sign up for the newsletter, of course, so you also know when the next Reiki classes will be coming available if you want to train with me. Aside from that, you can follow me on Instagram at Reiki Radio. You can also download the Energetic Alchemist app. I thank you all so much for being here. Be sure to like the show, subscribe wherever you're listening, give a 5-star review. That really helps the podcast and helps other seekers and practitioners find our community. All right, my loves, I'll see you very soon. Remember to always journey in love.